Going on to quality of life stuff. This is from Moonman of C. I think that's supposed to be Moonman of Creation, but he says, I love that Ashes of Creation will have a weapon talent system. I think that it creates a massive opportunity for players to really distinguish their own unique playstyle and drive so many different build paths. The synergies that will exist between the weapons and your abilities, as well as weapons and other players' abilities, is a great idea. And I'll let a lot of the rest of that be read on your behalf at your leisure. But the good is that they have done a good job navigating the tough balance that exists by making all weapons usable by all archetypes. And the not so good is they personally think that many of the weapon talents lack depth. And I'm going to have something to add to this later. But I just going to add, he thinks that a lot of the upgrades you get when you progress a specific modifier, example given Elemental Attunement 1 to Elemental Attunement 2, feels lackluster because it keeps adding the same flat percentage bonus as you upgrade. What are your thoughts?
I'm with them, and the fact that like weapon talent trees are an amazing addition because it really does open up build like potential. I mean, who doesn't want to see a tank full clad in armor running with a staff and just a staff? Like that's going to be really fun to watch, and probably good stories and good content to see. I don't know if it would really cause an issue for me from a depth point of view. I struggle when he mentions, of course, that the flat percentages of increases. I don't want there to be super convoluted and super complicated like improvements to these weapon types depending on your archetype, because that's what your archetype's for and how you're building that up. So for me, I personally wouldn't want that extra complication on top, because you're going to go down the route of min-maxing to the point where people will not take you on certain like quests or dungeons or into wars because you've got the wrong weapon, because this weapon has this very specific upgrade to it and this very unique thing that you have to have if you're being a tanker, a bard or anything like that. I just, whatever allows people to just do whatever they want. And I feel like that's what they're trying to do with the weapon archetypes, right? It's not too impactful, but it's still impactful enough for you as an individual.
Right.
So here's the thing. It's kind of a paradox, if you will. You can give people all the options in the world to change everything about everything, and there's so many things you can do, and there's so many different ways you can adjust and do this and that. But by the time you introduce too many options, there's much more likely to be an actual meta. Like, this is the best, because there's no way to balance 700 different options, but you can balance 3.
Right.
So if you can't balance that many and there is a best, then suddenly there aren't any options because you have the best. And the only option is if you just want to goof off and you're not actually being serious about, performance at all. So I think that with the weapon system, just having some things be, hey, you've used this enough, you can now do more damage with it. Cool. Yeah. Awesome. I've trained it farther. You've done this enough that now you're going to crit more often. Awesome. Cool. Hey, now you have a choice between 2 things. Cool. I'll pick this one. And then the next one is, again, just a straight damage boost because you're now better with it. All right. Fair enough. I like it.
I actually really like that. So the thing that I was going to say, and then I'm going to circle back to what you just said, because I that gave me more ideas. I was listening to Vladis talk about the weapon skill tree, and he was saying that there's a lot of skill trees, but because there's the actual skill tree and then you've got the weapon skill tree, and all the weapon skill tree is like weapon 1, weapon 2, weapon 3, weapon 4, like in a straight line, and it's just not all that interesting, at least for like some of them, like a mace, for example. He's like, instead, I think it should be something that you would have on the skill tree, but you can click into multiple times. But I actually like this idea more of, as you play with a weapon, you level up that weapon. And as you level up that weapon, you get more proficient with that weapon, which gives you the better damage, which gives you the better crit chance. I actually like that a lot more. It feels a little bit more immersive in terms of melee stuff, because then you're able to be like, yes, I do want to spec into this weapon because this weapon in the long run will help me do more damage. I'm very curious to see how that plays out. If Intrepid is hearing like his take, our take, I'm curious to see what their plans are with that, because it does feel a little bit at the moment mentally like a lot of different places to put skill points into, which is great, but like at the same point, it can get also a little overwhelming, I think.
Yeah, and you're right. It is a great system. I mean, it works really well. And I'm going back to Elder Scrolls Online again. It works really well there. The more you use it, the more passive boost you can have with that weapon. The more like weapon specific abilities. And I think it's the same with like, I'm going well off the spectrum of like MMOs here, but Dragon's Dogma does a fantastic job of like that archetypal sort of approach with you use this more, you get better with it, you have more abilities and better passives for when you're using that weapon. So I completely agree. That approach is what I would love to have in a weapon like tree system.
Yeah, I would agree. Also, another thing Vladis put out there, food for thought, is instead of like the tree that we have, kind of like a web of things.
Yeah, the web thing. I don't know. I think it feels like it could be a good thing, but some games that go with the web direction go a little bit excessive.
Yeah.
Like you look at it
fair.
and it's just a daunting web of what the do I even do with this? Where do I even go?
Yeah. I get like that. I think Diablo was my perfect example of like, oh no, I don't know what to do. Whereas ADHD brain likes natural progression.